Guys, let's continue with the one very interesting question. How the U.S. law, how the U.S. Legal system handled the conflict of interest. We know the pictures, in reality, the picture is never so rosy that we all get along, right? We all like each other. We all, have peace. No, that's not the case. Oftentimes, we serve one interest and against the interest of somebody else. So that's the thing. That's the most telling place or the case that the American legal system shows some wisdom. Okay, now let's look at the China. So historically, Confucius was saying that we stay in the middle ground. We always have the middle ground. So middle ground, basically means that you don't go to the extreme, right? Which is okay, which is good, right? But sometimes, avoiding extremes, it's not sometimes, sometimes it won't work. For example, if Confucius was saying that, if anything that you don't like happen to yourself, you don't do that to somebody else. That's not always the case. We all know that nobody wants to die, or most people don't want to die, but sometimes we still use the death sentence, right? So because that person violated the law or something like that, or killed somebody else. So this kind of thing, the Confucians didn't never give us very good solutions to stay in the middle, to stay the middle ground. So the American law legal system, has several ways of doing that. I may not be able to finish all. Just one thing that I want to think about, a few ways for the American legal system to handle the conflict of interest. The first principle is to disclosure. Okay, so you have to disclose it that there will be, for example, if you, your security professionals, they sometimes tell him that they advise their client to buy this stock, but this stock may be from their company, maybe hold the stock. So obviously this is a conflict of interest, but American legal system basically says you have to disclose it. And then not only that, you disclose it and then you ask your client to sign a signature, to sign the document, to sign the agreement to say that I'm aware of this and I'm still want to buy this stock, even though this stock, I'm aware that this stock is owned by the security professionals, right? So that's one thing. That's an easy thing, but it's very important because not many places, many countries, many jurisdictions, they don't know how to handle it. So they keep it a secret, they hide it up. The Chinese typical way is hide it up, but that's only leads to the bigger problem. So disclosure and have agreement, especially in writing, that's one thing that we have to follow that. The second principle, the legal doctrine, is that we sometimes have rules set up, but we allow exceptions. Okay. One good example is that there are fair use doctrines that in the copyright. Fair use, that means that we protect your author's right, okay? Meanwhile, sometimes if the other people using that to do like a scientific research, to do the critical thinking, to make us forward, then the other party should be allowed. So that's why we call it fair use, okay? So that way we protect the author, original author, the copyright, but also we won't hurt the society from benefiting from using that copyrighted material. Another thing is that this one, although we may have some disagreement on this, but it's office immunity that mostly applied to law enforcement officers. They're in the doing the legal enforcement. They may have, sometimes they may go too much. They use excess power, excess violence. Of course, we know the police is the legally, empowered to use some violence, right? But sometimes you never know, right? Because in the emergency situation, they may overuse the power. So that's why the police police are overusing power, they abuse the power. It happens all the time, right? But the law says that they have a certain degree of immunity, okay, unless they clearly violated the law or the or precedent situations. Like there's one guy, the suspect was sitting on the ground with the hands up in the air, but the police officer still released the police dog, the police dog ended up beating this guy. And this guy sued the police for overuse of the power, overuse of violence, but the court actually rejected it in the end because there's no clearly established laws or cases that says that if somebody is sitting on the ground with hands up in the air, the police should not do anything. Okay, if police still see some danger, they may still release the dog. So this kind of a certain degree of immunity, that is another way to keep the balance of power. Okay, and then the third way I'm thinking is that to let the different parties have their ways. So that comes back to the political system. We have elections, 4 years for the president, and then if the one president like Joe Biden, for example, and the citizens believe, the majority of the voters believe that he did not do a good job, or he performed poorly in the presidential debate, then people just, even within people within the same party, they may say, you better leave, you better go down, step down. This kind of thing. So, but the beauty of it is that, we allow both parties to compete, and then we give both parties some chance. Sometimes we may, the regime change, or not regime change, but the administration change is all it takes to keep the society beneficial, to keep the different parties, different side to have a balanced power. So that's another way of doing that. Let's stop here, but the next time we'll talk about examples.